Ubisoft employees around the world woke up to a very interesting piece of news that happened rather quickly and rather unannouncedly, something like that. Anyway, we've got Asmongold here remarking on the sale of Ubisoft to Tencent. They'll spin it any other way they like, but you and I both know what's going on here. Let's take a listen.
But anyway, so yeah, Mark Kern is man, I bet he's pretty happy. Fucking vindicated. Oh my god. So there you go, gentlemen. Ubisoft is being completely restructured. They have made a secondary company. There will be a rapture of games people that work in this industry.
Yep.
A rapture like you have probably never seen before.
Yep, exactly. And Asmongold's exactly right here because Ubisoft is sort of kind of the kingpin of this DEI mess. They're like the most infected of the studios. They even have a boot camp that we reported on here on this channel that pulls students out of college and gives them mentors within Ubisoft that then lend them credentials to get them hired into other studios. Okay? It's literally a boot camp for DEI that they have built in there. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. This is a gaming company that doesn't spend its time making games, okay? So now here comes Tencent, and they are going to pick up a larger sum of the company. So before the sale, this is from Bandar Hub, by the way. Feel free to check out Bandar Hub. That is at Hub Bandar over on x.com. So here we have it. Bandar reminds us that before the sale of Ubisoft to Tencent, or this new subsidiary to Tencent, there's no name for it yet, so we'll call it Ubi 2. How about that? We'll call it Ubi 2, all right? Like the Switch 2. Ubi 2. Yeah? All right. Anyway, back at the plot. They owned 10% of Ubisoft before this sale. Now, with the new 25% in this new subsidiary company, that's totally not the same company, guys, even though everything structurally is the same and the same IPs are being drug over there. But no, it's totally different. Trust us, absolutely different. But that'll be 34% of the company in total of the Ubisoft Guillemot offering that rather Tencent will own. Okay, this is a bit of a problem because it would appear that Tencent got behind all the crazy things that Ubisoft was doing in order to chase them into this kind of situation. There's something to be said about letting your enemy hang themselves, right? You give them enough rope and they'll do what they're going to do. And this appears to be the case. Now, the issue that's really kind of like hung up on this one is that Tencent is definitely going to take over operations here. There's no way that they let the Gilmos get all this money and then jump over to this new company with them and then say, okay, redo, do everything you did over at Ubisoft that got us to this point with this new company. Let's go. So, no, that's not going to happen. They drug over the Assassin's Creed brand, the Rainbow Six brand, and I believe the Far Cry brand over to this new company. And so this new company will be acting as the new publisher, the new developer studio for those brands going forward. Now, we have a bit more information from Bandar Hub here. Now, Bandar Hub registers his opinion about this, but he also brings to our attention that Tencent and NetEase are buying up a lot of Western entities. All right? As you can see right here, Marvel Rivals soars to 40 million, still cuts jobs. And again, like, if you don't need him, you don't need him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not on the side of these gaming studios, though. They are partially owned by the Chinese Communist Party. All right. And as you saw in the opening, our government here in the USA has labeled Tencent a military contractor. Hold it. It looks like 73% of you watching this aren't subscribed. Time to click that button. You know where to find it, okay? They're a military company, which they are. They develop technology for the CCP, and the CCP then employs in a military fashion. They provide technology, programs, organizational apps for the PLA. You can Google all of this. Very simple. And so, again, we have to remember that we're dealing with something wildly different than we ever have before in this market. And they have gone out deliberately through entities like Tencent and invested in this DEI nutso business that has left the Western gaming studios in such a vulnerable position that Tencent and NetEase and these other Chinese companies that have the CCP's treasury to back them if they want to make a political move here, to come through and make a purchase on these things. These soft kind of investments that say, oh no, we didn't take over the company. 34% argues otherwise. But here we go. Pirate Nation brings us a screenshot from 4chan that was quoting Razor Fist here. Now, this channel's no friend of Razor Fist. Not because of his opinions, but because of his history. And it's one of those histories where you just don't look away. Okay? You don't go, that was the past. You just don't. If you need more information, you're not going to find it on this channel. Feel free to Google Razor Fist and you'll go from there. All right? You can go from there. I won't even direct you from that point. You can do your own research on why we're not going to give this guy the credit that's going on here. All right? But what's brought up by Razor Fist, again, we're not leaning into this guy having any righteous point here, okay? What we're leaning into is that he's illustrating what has happened, okay? Let's make that clear. I don't want to hear it down in the comments, okay? China owns Tencent. Tencent buys 15% of Ubisoft. Tencent uses this position to push for ESG. ESG tanks the studio. Tencent buys them. So this is exactly how it went down. You can go over to Tencent's website. You can find where they support DEI initiatives. But you can't do that in China because China has recently put a full stop on those initiatives. They don't even want to see feminine men on television anymore. They banned porn entirely. So, and that's been since like the 50s. So that's not anything new even. So here we are. I mean, you're dealing with a culture that is purpose built to resist what it's exporting through Tencent and these other entities that are going in, poisoning these Western studios, and then absorbing the wreckage, picking over it like vultures afterwards. And that's what's happening on this end. Now, if you're an Ubisoft employee, you got a rather surprising email this morning or yesterday evening, however you are in the world. You got an email that basically illustrates be on the lookout. You could be getting a pink slip. Now, Grums breaks this down here. This is from Tom Henderson. He's a guy that's provided insider information to Insider Gaming. And so Henderson explains here that understandably, employees of Ubisoft are now nervous. And so this comes from one of the HR managers of Ubisoft. She is chief studio portfolio officer. So you know what that means. Just fluff, nice fluff lady to come through and say the things that nobody wants to hear, and then you can't get mad at her, that kind of thing. So basically, what's going down here is that Montreal and Quebec are going to be saved by this. Those studios are going to be moved over into this new company because, of course, they're pretty much the producers of the Assassin's Creed brand right now. So they're going to be moved over. Now, I assume Sherbrooke and Saguenay and Barcelona and Sofia are going to, excuse me, Sofia are going to be uh, studios that deal with Rainbow Six and Far Cry. So they'll be moved over into this new unnamed company. So what Grums did, though, is he broke this down. It says, we avoided the fall and got rich, a powerful enabler and an exciting opportunity for Ubisoft. So there you go. Tencent came through, gave him the money just to avoid the consequences of dumping all this money into Assassin's Creed Shadows, dumping all this money into Star Wars Outlaws, dumping all this money into this dead NFT game that got hacked on the first day. Only Ubisoft, guys. Only Ubisoft. Meanwhile, we'll go on here. It says, if you're not currently working on these brands, it doesn't mean your work matters any less. Grum says, you still matter, kind of. And that's what's happening here, is that rapidly Ubisoft is going to start sinking the ship if they haven't already started to issue people, get out of here, we don't need you anymore. They had that big protest with the remote workers, big battle over that, so they're just going to tell these people to go home. Bye-bye. Go away. You can go work from home forever now. That kind of thing. It's great. It's genius. If you're evil, if you're evil, they got away with it. This also insulates them from AJ Investments now. So if AJ Investments decides to protest Ubisoft, well, who cares? The Guillemots don't care anymore. Tencent doesn't care anymore. Everything valuable about Ubisoft in this very moment was ported over to this new company. It's over. So it doesn't matter what the investors on the other side say now. It's gone. Doesn't matter what that report from Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan says in May. It's gone. Ubisoft is a gutted fish now. This would be the equivalent of like Nintendo selling Mario, creating a new company and stripping the Nintendo brand of Mario. You know, putting Zelda in there, putting Metroid in there, and putting Pokemon in there. And then Nintendo is what? Right? A lot of other brands, but not as those seem to be the headliners that turn the most heads. It's not against anybody's fandom, just saying those seems to be the Nintendo brands that get the most action around the world. So there's questions of uncertainty, and basically the way this is worded is that you might get fired, you might not get fired, but you're probably going to get fired, is basically how this letter reads. Prepare yourselves to be fired, essentially. So again, this is not like clearly telling these people they're going to get fired. However, it is pretty much explaining that the writing's on the wall. The company does no longer has its headliner brands and currently has nothing on the horizon that's going to change that. That Rayman game most likely going to get moved over to this new company. Rayman's just going to be one of the late runners over there because they probably got licensing issues due to how they have it subsidiaried out to the Rabbids, right? So the Rabbids are part of the Rayman licensing. It's kind of like Hulk and Universal and Disney and Sony all having a piece of that, and it's very bizarre how they managed to put out anything involving the Hulk. It's this kind of situation again with Rayman, is that Rayman's just so scattered because they didn't keep the property in one piece that you can't make anything without having to consult multiple rights holders now. So it's just one of those pieces that'll fall into place with time. You'll have to let me know down in the comments below if you think that this is going to work out for them. I personally don't think so. I think that this is the end for Ubisoft as a whole. I think it's the end for Assassin's Creed. What you're going to see going forward is probably a free-to-play Assassin's Creed game. They were talking about doing some kind of parkour competition game where you outran the lava of Pompeii and most likely the scorched corpses of the people who had their lives taken from them during that pyroclastic explosion. But hey, whatever, as long as you don't get swallowed up in the lava, right, with your Assassin's Creed powers. Yeah, something like a Fall Guys game where you outrun corpses. It sounds great. And they're also working on another Rainbow Six, sort of like the continuing expansion of the Rainbow Six property that seems to be floating along okay. Tom Clancy, I think, is one of the ones that went over to this new company. And then, of course, Far Cry was over there. And I don't really know how they're going to handle Far Cry going forward. It doesn't really lend itself to DEI very well. So you'll have to wonder if they're going to embrace this stuff still, or if all of a sudden the Guillemots are going to drop their oh so tender, loving, compassionate view of the world and embrace a more profit-driven way of running this new business. Remains to be seen. We don't even know the name of this company. But anyway, guys, good luck out there.